Please welcome the Prescott Valley Freedom Rock Committee Chairperson, Aaron O'Hara.
Welcome. Good morning. I am Aaron O'Hara, the chair of the Prescott Valley Freedom Rock Committee and an Army veteran. I am so honored to be here today and will be emceeing this dedication. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you all please rise, remove your headgear, and direct your attention to the posting of the colors by the Copper State Young Marines and the singing of the national anthem by Danielle Thompson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Beautiful, Danielle. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Before I bring him up here, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Pastor John Uriarte. John served in the Marines from 1967 to 1971. He was in Vietnam from 1968 to 69, where he was awarded 2 Purple Hearts and 2 Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry medals. From 1971 to 2005, John served as a police officer in New York and California. In 2013, he became an ordained minister and served as a chaplain for law enforcement and hospice. Then in 2020, he became an associate pastor at One Hope Christian Friendship Fellowship in Dewey, where he still serves today. With my pleasure. John?
Good morning. It is truly an honor to be here with you to represent our heroes and for this dedication for the first Freedom Rock in Arizona here in Prescott Valley. In 1967, when I graduated high school, many of us 17 years old joined the military. I joined the Marine Corps. And off I went to MCRD, which is a Marine Corps Recruit Depot in Parris Island, South Carolina. Part of our training is on Sundays we were allowed to attend service. And the chaplain there read several scriptures to us because he knew that most of us were going to be sent to Vietnam. And those scriptures I kept in my Bible and referred to them when I was in Vietnam. One of the important scriptures that I recall is John 15:13. Greater love has no than a man who gives his life for a friend. And I've seen many of our friends give their lives. Native American Indians, like my fellow Marines, Ira Hayes, Navajo Code Talkers, Army Specialist Lorianne Pestowa, and the great Pat Tillman, and other men and women who served before them were in every major conflict, starting from the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, Civil War, World War I and II, Korea, Vietnam, and Iraqi freedom. They continue to serve today along with men and women from all walks of life. They left their families behind because they felt the calling and obligation to serve this great nation. One of the biggest reasons we all joined the military was for our sense of responsibility to protect our country, our community, our families, and our way of life. We are truly blessed to be in this great country with so many patriots. At this time, I ask you to bow your heads for the invocation. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with heavy hearts, recognizing the immense sacrifices made by all our veterans who took the pledge and wore the uniform. Not for glory, but for the love of their country and their fellow man. Today we pray for their legacy and honor to be recognized and remembered by all. Let their valor shine brightly, like beacons of hope for future generations, so their sacrifices are never forgotten. In the most holiest name we pray, amen.
Thank you, John. At this time, I'd like to welcome our special guests. And if I miss somebody, I'm going to apologize now. Wayne Allison, grandnephew of Corporal Ira Hamilton Hayes and his family, and all the other relatives of Corporal Hayes, including Doug Wan. So we actually have both sides of Corporal Hayes' family here, both mother and father's side. We have Ronnie Town and her sisters Muriel and Linda Hubbard, daughters of Navajo Code Talker and Senator Arthur J. Hubbard and their families. Chelsea Montgomery, granddaughter of Navajo Code Talker Teddy Draper Sr. and her family, and all the other Navajo Code Talker families in attendance. Mary Tillman and Kevin Tillman, mother and brother of Pat Tillman, and Brian O'Neill, a fellow soldier from 2nd Ranger Bat. Brandon Pestowa and Percy Pestowa, son and mother of Specialist Lorianne Pestowa. And our guest of honor today is Navy Master Chief Retired Gary Winkleman and his family. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce our next guest speaker, Mayor Kel Palguda.
Thanks, Aaron. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. This is a tremendous turnout, and I cannot be more proud of Prescott Valley. Elected officials, neighbors, friends, family, and most importantly, our honored veterans, welcome to Prescott Valley. As mayor, I have always believed that some of the best ideas come directly from our residents. The Freedom Rock standing before us today is a perfect example. When Brian DeJong, community member, approached me with the idea of bringing a Freedom Rock to Prescott Valley, I immediately knew it was something special. It was an opportunity to create a lasting tribute to the men and women who have served our nation and protected our freedoms. I also knew that turning this vision into a reality would require the right group of dedicated volunteers. I was fortunate to sit down with Erin and share the mission and goals that needed to be accomplished. After our conversation, I was confident that she was the right person to lead this challenge. Erin and the incredible Freedom Rock Committee worked tirelessly over the past year, dedicating countless hours to make today possible. Please join me in giving them all a well-deserved round of applause. What makes today even more historic is that this is the first and only Freedom Rock in the state of Arizona. It will serve as a destination for visitors from across the state and the nation. But more importantly, it will stand as a permanent symbol of gratitude and community pride. Prescott Valley has always been a community that proudly supports those who serve. Our veterans are our neighbors, business owners, teachers, coaches, and community leaders. This monument sends a clear message that their sacrifice will never be forgotten. And we also recognize the families who serve alongside them, to the spouses, the parents, the children, and loved ones who have endured deployments, uncertainty, and sacrifice. Thank you. This Freedom Rock honors your commitment as well. So today is a celebration of what can happen when residents, volunteers, and community leaders come together with a shared purpose. This monument will remind future generations of the price of freedom and the values that make Prescott Valley such a special place to call home. And finally, to our veterans, this Freedom Rock is for you. It is a small token of appreciation for a debt that we can never fully repay, and a permanent reminder that Prescott Valley will always honor your service. Thank you all for being a part of this historic day, and I'd like to welcome Erin back up.
Thank you, Mayor Palguda. Again, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. Before I begin talking about the rock, I'd like to take a moment to thank God for his guidance as I've traveled down this path. I have felt his hand on my shoulder the entire way. I'd also like to thank my husband for being understanding with all the long hours and tons of phone calls and texts that often came during our times together. Now I'd like to introduce the original Freedom Rock Committee. Behind me, James Turner. Also behind me, Lisa Harsh. Sitting here in the front row, Karen O'Laughlin. And also in the front row, Brian DeYoung. A little history of how we got here to the first in Arizona Freedom Rock. As the mayor mentioned, we worked this project at the behest of him and the town council, but absolutely no tax dollars were used. All monies collected were community funded or from the sale of commemorative bricks. Also, we couldn't have done this without the generosity of the many contractors and businesses in the area who donated their time and resources to help build this veteran memorial. To name just a few: Bailey Construction, D&O Crane, Beeline Concrete Cutting, 89A Holloway, All-American Concrete, Cemex, Dynamic Concrete Pumping, Upright Awnings, Platinum Concrete, Turner Metalcraft, Joe's Powder Coating, Pavers Landscaping, and Home Depot. The Freedom Rock is the creation of Ray Bubba Sorensen, an artist and Iowa State representative. In 1999, he saw the movie Saving Private Ryan and knew then that he had to do something special to honor veterans. There was a giant rock in his town that was always getting graffitied. He painted it, and a movement was born. His goal is to have one in every state of the Union. Today, there are 123 rocks in 12 states, with 3 more states booked. Each rock is painted to represent the veterans and history of that state. In April of last year, our committee got together and began working towards bringing a Freedom Rock here to Prescott Valley. One of the first details was, where should it be? As the town of Prescott Valley was very excited to be a part of this effort, they offered us a couple of sites here on the town plaza. It quickly became evident that where the rock sits today was ideal. It can be seen from the parking lot and is easily accessible to handicap parking. It is also the culmination of veterans' memorials here on the plaza. To your rear is the Walk of Honor. Further up is the Service Memorial. And then finally, the crown jewel, our Freedom Rock. The next thing was to find a rock. Not just any rock, but a rock befitting of our veterans. We looked at hundreds around the Quad City area. Our rock is a 38,000-pound boulder that was sourced in Prescott. How did it get here? Veteran-friendly contractors from the community assisted in moving the rock to Prescott Valley and then stored it while we prepared our site. They cut the concrete, hauled the concrete away, brought in dirt and gravel, and then finally hoisted the rock into its exact place with a 120-ton crane. Bubba came later in October of last year to paint. We proffered many great Arizona veterans to him and sent him pictures of the rock beforehand so that he could sketch out some ideas. We are absolutely overjoyed and amazed at the veterans he chose to represent our state. The Arizona veterans painted on our rock are a rich, storied tapestry of character, self-sacrifice, honor, duty, and patriotism. On the front, we have Corporal Ira Hamilton Hayes, a Pima warrior and one of the Marines who helped raise the flag on Mount Suribachi, who was told not to wear his tribal colors, but he did so anyway. Below him, we have the USS Arizona's, and a lot of you have asked about that. It is not a spelling error. USS Arizona's past and present, or past and future, I should say. One that looks as she did in her glory before she sank to her watery grave at the bottom of Pearl Harbor. The other just emerging from the water to be christened next year. On the second side, we have the Navajo Code Talkers with their sacred language, without whom we would not have won in the Pacific. Below them is Pat Tillman, who walked away from fame and fortune to serve his country as a U.S. Army Ranger, but 2 years later was sadly killed in Afghanistan. On the third side, we have Lorianne Pestois, a Hopi warrior and mother just trying to give her family a better life. Sadly, she was killed in an ambush in Iraq in 2003. And finally, on that fourth side and all its sides, we have Old Glory, draped over the top and flowing into each story, representing that the red, white, and blue binds them all and is the history and testament to all the liberties and freedoms Americans enjoy today. 2 pieces of local history regarding our PV rock. First, in the original concept, Bubba had only planned to paint the original USS Arizona, the BB-39. But once he got here, one of our local submariners and guest of honor, Wink, told Bubba about the USS Arizona to be the SSN 803, a Virginia-class, nuclear-powered, fast-attack sub we are getting next year. Bubba listened and researched and then added it to his plan. I think it helps signify that the history of Arizona goes on. Second, Bubba often puts veterans' ashes in the paint, permanently bonding the physical remains of the veterans to the artwork honoring their service. In our rock, in the flag on Mount Suribachi, are the ashes of one of the most important men in my life, my father, United States Marine Corps Captain Retired, John O'Hara. It has been a long but bustling journey. As you can imagine, there were parades, booths at special events, presentations at meetings, and weekly pop-ups in all kinds of weather. We dealt with construction, concrete cutting, digging, engineering, permitting, and then more concrete cutting and digging and pergola raising and sign hanging, bricklaying, and much, much more. But in the end, we hope the site properly honors our fearless Arizona warriors painted on it, and that it is a place folks from near and far can come visit and think of loved ones that served, past and present. For the veterans themselves, a place of solitude, a place to reflect on their brothers and sisters in arms. And for the children, a place to learn about our history and the sacrifices made for the liberties we enjoy today. Now I'd like to bring up my teammate, James Turner.
Thank you, Aaron. I've got a prayer here. Let's go on to my part. I'm here to say a few words and then read a poem that I wrote. Stop groaning over here, okay? I'll read it quickly. The uniform came off, the hair turned gray, but the gratitude never left. Gratitude for the brothers beside you, gratitude for the flag above you, gratitude for the God who carried you through it all. This monument is a tribute to that journey. We were a committee of 5 in the beginning. Karen over here cooked the book. She didn't cook the book, she kept the book, sorry. Oh. If you gave me an Excel spreadsheet today, we'd all go down in flames. She did a great job, and we owe her a huge thank you. Thank you, Karen. Brian sitting next to her. Brian was a guy who did our drawings and site planning. He gave us a scaled vision of what you see today and much more as our civil engineer. He's from Iowa, where these monuments originated, and it was he who pitched the idea to our mayor. Thank you so very much, Brian. Without you, this would not have happened. Lisa in the sailor shirt back here. She's a great representative from the Rock. She's from Iowa, and she has firsthand knowledge of these monuments, and she's a natural salesperson as well. Thank you, Lisa. I'm just a veteran, kind of a salesman, and a happy to be here kind of guy. Boy, can I rent this? Can I keep this for a while? I've met a lot of veterans on this journey, made a lot of friends, joined the American Legion and the Legion Riders. Sam's, the guys in the kilts over here want me, but I'm just not that sure I'd look good in a kilt. And thank you to my loving wife, Conliani, right here in the front row, for giving me all this time and encouraging me. And she gave us help at the Rock as well. Erin, our team leader, is an absolute workhorse. She deserves a huge amount of thanks and praise for bringing this together. She got us online, Facebook, Nextdoor, set up our email to keep it all together. She designed, printed, and revised our brochures and order forms, dealt with the town, talked to many contractors into giving their time and labor, and got us into veterans organizations to speak. She ordered the bricks. There's way too much to tell it here. It would not have been completed this year and on time. Thank you, Erin. This monument's a legacy to veterans from us all. So thank you for listening just a little bit longer. Freedom has a name. It's called sacrifice. One nation under God, stands now because a veteran, stood first. Thank you. We are not here to look for red or blue, but to cheer the red, white, and blue. This, our Prescott Valley Freedom Rock, recognizes all the veterans who have served our great nation in wartime and in peace. Beyond the horizon of the place where we were young, in a world of lights and people and miracles, our thoughts strayed constantly and without boundary. And then the violent disruption of our life took the life that we had known, took us suddenly far away into the dark and unknown. There is a band of brothers who has been in our footsteps before us, before time took our dreams away. We left the people that tied us and joined the military. Parents, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters saw us go to places unknowable. A short and yet long lifetime later, always remembering, forever seeing, and return to a life consumed by slow decay in those awful memories. War is fighting danger and paralyzing fear. Strategy is pitiless and never completely clear. Looking beyond the embers of bridges and homes of fire to get a glimpse of how green it used to be. Steps taken forward but sleepwalking back ever again and again. At a higher place, old glory unfurled. We reach for heights in that dreamed of world. Encumbered by desire and ambition, there's a hunger still unsatisfied, and our eyes stray to the horizon. The grass was greener, the light was brighter, the taste was sweeter. The nights of wonder with friends surrounded, the dawn mist glowing, the endless river, water flowing. Thank you for hearing my words. Lisa Harsh.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Harsh, and I'm honored to be part of the Freedom Rock Committee. Over a year ago, when I saw that Mayor Palguda put out a call for volunteers for this awesome effort, I couldn't respond fast enough. I grew up near what would become the original Freedom Rock north of Greenfield, Iowa. I saw the ugly graffiti on it as a teenager when I was out detasseling corn. I was grateful and amazed when I first saw Bubba's artwork honoring veterans. Each time I go back to see my family in Iowa, I stop by the original rock to see Bubba's new renditions honoring our service members. I wanted to share its history and knowledge with others, and I really wanted my new town to have the first Arizona Freedom Rock. As part of Bubba's 50-state Freedom Rock tour, you could say I was compelled to join this amazing committee. I also wanted to get to know more veterans and hear their stories. My dad served in the Army in Vietnam as a decorated paramedic, and my father-in-law served in World War II with the Navy as a personnel carrier operator who carried troops into battle on the beaches in the South Pacific. Neither liked sharing their war stories, as we all can't comprehend the physical and emotional pain they endured and keep hidden from those they love. As I've only been a resident here for 6 years, I'm a transplant from the beautiful state of Wyoming, I wanted to get to know others in my community and be part of something bigger than myself, with a goal of honoring others in my new home. I have made new friends from our committee, and I appreciate all of their talents and passion for this amazing project. The best part of the journey, though, was meeting all the veterans and their spouses in our wonderful community. Their candid stories have allowed me to reflect on my father's own struggles with PTSD, and my father-in-law, who also battled PTSD and Alzheimer's before his passing. The courage and selfless service of all veterans is to be commended and celebrated. We should never forget their bravery and sacrifice to give us the liberties and freedom we enjoy today. Thank you for your service, veterans. I appreciate you all. I also want to thank my husband. I also want to thank my husband, who has heard me talk about the Freedom Rock every day since last April. And I won't stop talking about it. Lastly, I want to personally thank Ray Bubba Sorensen, still lives in my hometown, for painting this amazing permanent memorial tribute to veterans and their families so we never forget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim and Lisa. Before I bring our next speaker up here, I want to tell you a little bit about him and tell you why he's our guest of honor. Gary Winkleman, AKA Wink. Wink was a Master Chief Machinist Mate in the Navy for 22 years. And not just your regular Navy, but the Submarine Deep Submergence Service. Wink is also a native Iowan and was at the commissioning of the USS Iowa, the SSN 797, a submarine last year. And as I mentioned earlier, Wink is the one who told Bubba about the USS Arizona, SSN 803, that's coming next year. And he is directly responsible for that USS Arizona's that so many of you keep texting me about. So without further ado, Wink.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. And I just like to say good morning to my fellow veterans, the families of the Navajo Code Talkers, and Ira Hayes, Lori Ann Pestowa, Pat Tillman, and the public. If I missed somebody, I'm sorry. Yeah, they asked me to do this, and I thought, okay, submariner, we're known as the silent service. We're underwater most of the time, pretty quiet. Trouble is, when we come to the surface, we like to raise a lot of hell because we've been locked in a tube for a long time. So bear with me on this day. But my whole purpose here is to talk about what it means to the veterans in our community to have this Freedom Rock. As I said, I am an Iowa native farm boy and came in the service and Vietnam vet. Of course, submarines never ever went into Vietnam, but we was within range where we could see everything going on real close, knew what was happening. So, and I'm here today to represent and to honor my fellow veterans in sharing this deep and personal meeting that overcomes me when I stand before this memorial. It's hard to explain the camaraderie and the respect between veterans, except to say they served our country. And I'm going to go off on a tangent here. A lot of people talk about our VA benefits. They think we get too many benefits and all this stuff. I always tell them, you had a choice to join too. Some of us didn't have a choice. We got drafted. But a lot of people served and came in voluntarily. And it's because, like World War II, we wanted to keep this nation free. Freedom Rock. Freedom is not free. It's not cheap. It costs a lot. And that's what your veterans have done. So thank every veteran you see for their service, because there's a lot going on underneath there. The Freedom Rock is a symbol of the sacrifices given over our 250-year history by our military men and women, ensuring our liberties that we so value and cherish. Our Arizona Freedom Rock has its heroes and legendary figures under Old Glory that gave their full measure of our freedoms, for our freedoms. There are many memorials and statues in our country, but only one Arizona Freedom Rock for our state. When a veteran looks upon one, he is filled with many memories, many of joy and pride in their service, some of regret and sorrow for the losses of their brothers and sisters in arms. No, we are all human, with many emotions that our service changed in us. PTSD example for our combat, military accidents, and tough missions that people went through. I'm telling you this so you will have a better understanding of how veterans feel and think and what this Freedom Rock means to our veterans. I also hope to the public in the future, because people always ask us, all veterans, certain questions, and some we can tell you, some we can't, but at the end of the day, we always remember the good things. We don't remember those long hours of being tired, of doing certain stuff that we don't even want to talk about a lot of times. But we did it. And most of the veterans know that the reason you did it is for the guys next to you. You did it for your buddies. No matter what the political climate in the country or what's going on in the world, we did it for each other. And hopefully they get us all back home. Lastly, I'd like to talk about Old Glory. Our flag is made up of 50 stars representing our 50 states. 13 stripes for the original 13 colonies. Red for valor and bravery. White for purity and innocence. Blue for vigilance, perseverance, and justice. I used to teach this to all my kids when I was in church, the Awana kids, the Christian people that know about the Awanas and some of the other programs. I made sure they knew about the American flag, what it represented and what it meant. Because a lot of stuff I see in the history of this country is being taken away, and they need to learn this. They need to know what that flag represents, why it flies, and what it represents. One of the other things that I'm very big about is never let it touch the ground. When it's frayed or tattered, remove and take to a location that accepts the flag. My VFW Post 10227, which some of them are here today, here in Prescott Valley has a mailbox out front for flag deposit. I always tell people if I see a flag tattered, I go up and say, do you need me to replace it? If not, there's a place you could take it to help them take care of that flag. They will be burned after a retirement ceremony, which I won't go into, but it's a pretty big event if you want to look it up. Honor our flag. Honor our veterans. Honor the freedoms that you have and that they have sacrificed for you. As an Iowa native, I've toured a lot of the Freedom Rocks back there. And when I found out about this one being brought in, I was very excited, and I couldn't wait to get over here. And I was able to come over and talk with Bubba, and that's when we talked about putting the next USS Arizona 807 submarine underneath there. Of course, I'll tell you the joke. Everybody said, well, it's already there. You just can't see it. I said, yeah, we're known for that. We never get much glory. But you know what? We're always around. So, and now, without further ado, as we gathered here today, I would like to officially dedicate the Prescott Valley Freedom Rock to all the veterans, to all the families, to our community in the town of Prescott Valley on this 27th day of June, 2026. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, people. Thank you.
Thank you, Wink. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin our cake cutting ceremony. So at this time, can we have our guest of honor? I know you just sat down, Wink. And our oldest veteran, Willie, and the youngest veteran, or soon to be, Corporal Santo Massino, come to the front. Throughout our military history, regardless of location, service members pause to observe their branch's birthday and share a cake. For today's ceremony, we will be doing a celebration in honor of our nation's 250th birthday. And we honor all services as we dedicate our Freedom Rock. The cutting of the cake with a ceremonial sword or saber serves as a reminder that we are a band of warriors committed to carrying arms so that our nation may live in peace. This is the tricky part, sharp objects. All right. It is tradition to present the first piece of cake to our guest of honor, Wink, in recognition of his distinguished service and support to our troops and our rock. The second piece of cake is presented to the oldest service member present. This symbolizes the wisdom, experience, and honor accorded to seniority and serves as a living link to our rich history. William Willie Navarrete, who is 96 years old, served in the Air Force. Willie served in the Air Force from January 1952 to December 1955. Willie was stationed at Edwards Air Force Base in California as an aircraft mechanic on the B-36. The third piece of cake is presented to the youngest service member present. This presents the future of our military and the responsibility we have to nurture and train junior personnel. 15-year-old Corporal Santo Messino is preparing to take her first college course this summer while continuing to excel in high school. She plans to attend college and pursue military service in the future, though she is still exploring which branch best fits her goals and interests. Perhaps she'll get some inspiration from one of you veterans today. Thank you all. In closing, this journey culminating in today's dedication truly has been a labor of love. From the veterans, families, and friends we meet to the stories we hear, we'd like to thank the town of Prescott Valley staff and our entire community for the resolute support we have received over the last 14 months. We couldn't have done it without any of you. You make us so proud to be part of the first Freedom Rock in Arizona. Thank you all for coming. May God bless you, and God bless America.